Ok. Buenas tardes, chicos. Bienvenidos a otro coloquio. Como les prometí, coloquios de otros lugares. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Sobre todo todos los que han estado a tiempo. Quiero agradecerles por esto de aquí. Chicos, queremos empezar con una foto. Por favor, si pueden conectar sus cámaras para tomar una foto, porque les gustaría poner esto en las redes sociales y decir que están trabajando. Nosotros estamos trabajando con bastantes programas con South Alabama y van a tener la posibilidad, y esto va a ser muy pronto, van a tener la posibilidad de tal vez ir a un concurso, a una reunión por allá. Ellos van a venir acá. Realmente estamos trabajando bastantes cosas con ellos. Muchísimas gracias, chicos, por conectar las cámaras. Esto va a ser al principio nomás, de ahí no se preocupen. So Evelyn, we have the cameras on. So you think we can take the picture?
Yes, here. Let me see if I can extend this.
We can also ask to Camila, and then we can send you the picture.
Yeah, I can do it if you want. I'm ready.
Let's have Camilla do it, because Camilla, you can take it with everything, right? Hola, everybody.
Yeah, no problem. I will do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a couple, okay?
Let us know so I can be ready.
I will count to 3, okay? So 3, 2, 1, cheers.
Great.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
So I want to welcome Evelyn Green to this colloquio. I think for us it's a pleasure to have her over here. Dr. Green, she has undergraduate. She studied his undergraduate career in hotel and restaurant administration, and she did his PhD in human capital development at the University of Southern Mississippi. In 2017, Dr. Green established the USA Hospitality and Tourism Workforce Innovation Alliance, where she currently serves as its director. Dr. Green continued her role as an assistant professor in the Department of the Hospitality and Tourism Management, responsible for the internship, global leadership, and professional conduct and career planning courses. So for us, it's really a pleasure to have her here. I think will be a very, very interesting lecture. She will talk. She was telling me that she will talk about what to do at the university, so you can go to the industry and do what really you want to do. So thank you very much, Evelyn, for accepting this invitation. And you can start whenever you're ready. If you need anything, please let us know. We will be ready with Camila if we have any questions. So you don't have to be focused on that part.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Evelyn, for everything.
Thank you. If y'all could help me with the monitoring the chat, where I'll be asking the students to pose their questions, that would be most helpful. So I'll get started. Yeah. So, hola, and buenas tardes. Did I say that correct? I'm Dr. Evelyn Green with the Director of Hospitality and Tourism Workforce Innovation Alliance at the University of South Alabama. And on behalf of Mayor Sandy Stimson and Dr. Tony Waldrop, I bring you greetings from the city of Mobile, Alabama, and the University of South Alabama. It's a privilege, Juan, to be invited to speak to the students at USFQ, and I'm hopeful that this is going to be the beginning of a wonderful collaboration between our universities and our hospitality and tourism program, and also the culinary programs. So, so for the students, actually what I'll do is I'm going to stop my video because I'm not the best looking anyway. And I was telling Camilla it will allow me to do a little bit of cheat sheet of looking at my notes. So I'm just going to stop my video and you'll just see an old photo of me that looks much better. So it's a privilege to be here today, and I want you to invest an hour or so with me to take time out to think about your time here in this program at USFQ. Are you making the most of it? And to start preparing yourselves for what's next in terms of your career. How do you know you have chosen the right career path? In our industry, there's so many business sectors. Which one is the best choice for you? Which job offer would you pick if you're given a choice? And how do you know that that's the right job offer to pick? These are all going to be decisions that you will be confronted with in the very, very near future. And I hope today I'll give you enough food for thought and practical tips to help you make those decisions. Go narrow that down. So today's lecture purpose, I have two purposes for today's lecture. The first is to help you realize that knowing your final destination, in other words, your goal, will keep you motivated in school and help you make choices that will hopefully make your time at USFQ productive with money well spent. And the next purpose is to provide you with practical tips on how to make career choices that are of good fit and is sustainable. The first purpose is really important because I found it out the hard way. I was a really poor student when I was from grade school to high school, actually, because I didn't know what I want in life. I didn't know what I want to do. So going to school was more about socializing with my classmates, skipping class, eating. That was all I did. So I was a very poor student. I always, with the grace of God, managed to pass whatever exams was needed, but barely passing. But everything changed when I came to the US to pursue my degree in hospitality and tourism. Because at that point in time, I knew what I came to the US. I left a perfectly good job. I left my family to pursue this goal. And my perspective totally changed after that. I went from being a really lousy student to a top of the class student. I went from a student that has F's all the way for my math to acing my algebra. So that's why I want you to start thinking, if you are in school now and you're just going through the motions of going to class, I want you to realize that knowing your final destination will actually make a difference towards your perspective of being in class and knowing what classes to pick that's going to add value to your resume. The lecture will cover how to use talent risk assessment. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I'll share that with you. Good fit analysis and competency gaps analysis to evaluate your fit with your future career and employer. And the lecture will conclude with how to use these analysis results to develop a SWOT analysis that will help create a professional development strategic plan that you can implement between now and then. It's my understanding when I spoke with Juan that many of you are now like in your third year and perhaps some in your fourth year. But I'm hopeful that this next 2 years, after this lecture, we may give you food for thought to really make the most of this next 2 years in terms of preparing yourself to be marketable for the career that you have chosen. So let's get started. Aligning career opportunities with your competencies and personal values. So why is alignment important? I'm sure many of you, I don't know if y'all can raise your hands. How many of you actually work right now, like part-time or maybe even full-time, right? Have you ever, oh, look, I've got Andre Ortega raise his hand, right? So do you remember those of us who have applied for jobs before, and there's also Andrea, right? So those of us who have applied for jobs before, remember the anxiety you go through and say, I really need this job. Please, God, I need this job. I've got to get this job. And you're praying every day and you're looking, staring at your phone, waiting for it to ring, and it won't ring. And then finally, it's like, I've got this new job. Yeah, you got it, right? You were so excited, so euphoric. And then a couple of weeks or months later, you hated the very thought of having to go to that job that you wanted so bad. So what happened between this picture, the second picture, and the third picture? What happened? Possible culprits. One is you are not wired or skilled enough for the job. So the job was too hard for you. Two is possibly the job does not match your personality or your values. Third is maybe once you got there, the corporate culture values do not match yours. You hated your work environment. And lastly, maybe you're not quite ready for the job. But the question is, can you get there? So how would you know if you fall culprit? So today we will introduce 3 tools that will help you assess whether your competencies and values align with the job and organization you are looking at. The first tool we want to look at is the talent risk assessment, which will help you determine if you are skilled enough to meet the job requirements. The second tool is the good fit analysis, which will help you match your personality and values against the job and that of the corporations. And in that sense, we're talking about the corporation's culture and values. And the third tool we will discuss today is the competency gaps analysis, which will help you determine your readiness for the job by figuring out your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In short, we call it the SWOT analysis. I'm sure many of you have heard of this. So my next question is, and y'all can maybe between Camilla and Juan, see how many people raise their hands. Raise your hand if you know you. So my question is, do you know you? Maria knows. Oh, very good. Look at that. Look at all the hands raising. This is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So then my next question is, for those who did not answer, all right, is what, and for those who said you know you, see if you can answer these questions, okay? Do you know who am I? What am I about? What do I have to offer? Who do I want to become? And where do I want to be in X years? Good for you, David. And I wish and Elba and Andrea and Madeline, I wish we had more time to hear some of these responses, but maybe that makes for a good follow-up in your classes. Is if you have students, or if you are a student who don't have answers to these questions, this is the time for you to take time out to think. And I will soon let you know why it's so important for you to have that self-awareness. It is important for you to perform self-assessments to gain self-awareness and a directional goal. It is because once you know your destination, you will know what to pack. And in this case, packing involves equipping yourself with the right tools and skill sets for your intended career. So it's just as though if I were to say, let's go, the first question you're going to ask me is where, because you want to know what to pack. Because if I say we're going to Ecuador, you're not going to pack parka, right? You're going to be packing shorts and swimsuits and things like that. So you want to know where you are going so that you know what to pack. Likewise, as you are going through school right now, what classes you take, what electives you take, think about your destination. What classes, what courses would add value to your resume and to the knowledge that you need to pursue to get you to that final destination where you will be set and comfortable. So just a recap, you need to invest your time in getting to know you, know your destination, and in this case, we're talking about career, and know what you need for your destination. Know what does that career or that job that you aspire towards require of you, okay? So we'll move on to the first tool of talent risk assessment. So when we talk about talent risk assessment, or in fact, when we talk about all these tools, we will look at each tool by answering 3 questions: the what, why, and how. Beginning with talent risk assessment. We will look at talent risk assessment from 2 perspectives, both from an employee perspective and an employer perspective, okay? So from an employee perspective, a talent risk assessment analyzes the risk of taking a job by comparing the task within the job description to your skills and abilities. What does this job require you to do, and do you have the skills and abilities to do that job? And from an employer perspective, the risk of hiring someone for a specific job by comparing the tasks within a job description to the individual's or the job candidate's skills and abilities. Okay, so we want to see if there's a good match there. So why perform a talent risk assessment? As a job seeker, the talent risk assessment helps you determine your level of confidence in your ability to perform the job, meet job expectations, and succeed. And from an employer perspective, it reduces the likelihood of a turnover due to incompetence. So I don't know how many employers actually do this, and I don't know how many of you actually perform this little bit of research on yourself as you job hunt. But this is something that is worth your time doing, even if the answer is not absolutely 100% correct, but it is a good guesstimate that would kind of give you a sense of direction. So how would you do that? I came up with this method when I personally faced the challenge of having to choose between staying with the job I have or getting enticed to take one that's exciting, but one in which I have very little experience in, and wondered to myself, what is the risk of making this career move? That happened to me when I was in Singapore. So I took the risk formula, which insurance companies use to determine the risk level of taking you on as a client, right? And just kind of simplify it to help myself figure out, should I or should I not go for this job? Because I've got a sweet deal here at UNLV Singapore, but the organization that was looking at me was an international corporation. So I used this three representation. One, the probability of failing. How likely am I going to fail at this task? All right. And impact measures how consequential is this task to the job. So remember, in job description, there are various tasks listed in the job description. So how consequential is that particular task to the entire job? And risk is how much liability does the company incur or you yourself incur if when hired you cannot do this job, right? Because for me, the risk is now I just left a perfectly good job for something that I'm not sure of, even though it's very, very attractive. So the formula I came up with was risk equals to probability times impact. And when I say KSAs here, it stands for knowledge, skills, and abilities. So to further help you determine the level of importance, the likelihood of failing or the level of risk, what I've done was assign numbers from 0 to 1, as shown on the slide here for all of them. High function is high importance, right? Medium importance, low importance, probability of likelihood, high likelihood of failing, medium likelihood of failing, poor fit, high risk of poor fit, low risk of poor fit. And the formula is the risk percentage is risk divided by impact, and fit percentage is 100% or 100 minus the risk percentage. So the bottom line is the higher the fit percentage, the lower the risk. The lower the fit percentage, the higher the risk. So far, so good? Okay, so here is, the next 2 slides will have 2 examples. Actually, these were examples done by my students with their permission. I'm allowed to use to share it. So if my students can make this happen, I know all of you can definitely make this happen. So this student of mine, Macy, she was interested in an event and promotions assistant position. So what she did was, and this is just kind of a sample of some of the tasks within the job description. We didn't do the entire one for the sake of a sample. So so the first thing she did was to determine how important is this particular task to this job, right? What is, if I fail at this task, how consequential is it? So she felt like ensure events are successful beginning to end. She felt like the impact is 100%. If I mess up, that's going to be bad. And so these were what she estimated. If she did not know what the employer's weights are, these were the weights that she put to this particular job that she felt the tasks were of the various importance. Then the next thing was, she looked at herself and asked herself, what are the chances of me the probability of me failing at this task. And these were the scores that she gave herself. All right. So if you look at this, manage trade shows and event promotions and strategy in conjunction with management, she really was not that confident in her ability to make this happen. And look at the impact. It's a very high impact score. So this test is very important. And if she can't do it, it's quite the consequence is not going to be good. And then once she had these two columns completed, what she did then was to multiply the two to get the risk. All right. And once she has those numbers, she took the cumulative total of risk and divided it by impact. And that was what she got, 24%. And for the fit percentage, she took 100% minus the 24 and she got 76. So once again, is it an exact science? The answer is no, but it gives you an idea, all right? And she repeated the same with the other job that she was also interested in. And in this case, it's the meeting and travel coordinator position. So she went through the same process. And in this case, the risk was 36% and the fit was 64%. So, and maybe y'all can do it either by raise hands or usually you can do a poll, but I can't, it's too late for me to set up a poll right now. So how many of you think that A is a better fit for Macy? All those who think A is a better fit, raise your hand. Okay, we've got quite a few. We still have them coming. How many feel like B is a better fit for Macy? Anyone? Okay, so here's the answer. A is the better fit because, remember, the higher the fit percentage, the lower the risk. So in this case, her fit is 76% to the job. So in other words, if the job requires a person of 100% ability, she could meet 76% of that requirement. Whereas with this other job, she could only meet 64%. Is there a big difference? Not a whole lot, but it still does give her a sense of which may be the better fit, okay? And then there are more factors beyond that. So the key takeaways for talent risk assessment here is know what are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are needed for the job that you're looking at. Know how well your own KSAs match with the job description requirements. And know that the higher the fit percentage, the lower the risk, and the lower the risk, the lower the fit percentage, the higher the risk. If you have any questions, go ahead and type your questions in the chat box so that we can take some questions at the end of the session, okay? Before you forget your question, type it in. So we'll move on to good fit analysis. So while talent risk assessment compares your knowledge, skills, and abilities, or in short, we call it competencies, against the job skills requirement, the good fit analysis compares and evaluates your values, wants, and needs against that of the job. And likewise, it also helps you compare your values against the organization's corporate culture and values. It is kind of your happiness index. So why is it important to perform a good fit analysis? It helps you determine the happiness index, like I just said, of being in a job or working for that organization. So for example, in terms of a job, does that job require you Sunday off? So if you are someone who wants to be at church every Sunday, then a job that requires you to be at work every Sunday is not going to work well for you because it clashes with your values and your needs, right? And the organization, what does the organization represent, right? What are their values? What are their mission? Does that match with yours? Especially your generation today, I think these are some significant considerations when you're selecting corporations. So how would you go about doing it is to review your self-assessments and prioritize your values and find out what are the deal breakers versus the good to have. So even in your values, some you're willing to compromise and some you are not. So for example, if going to church means a lot to you, right? And if this job does not allow you to do that, it requires you to work every Sunday, then that is a deal breaker. You will eventually quit before they ask you to quit, you know, or you will end up not showing up for work when you're supposed to, because that's just too big a clash. The good to have may be one of those things where you would like to have Thursdays off, but they say, you know, Thursday, you probably have to work, maybe not. We may give you 1 or 2 Thursday and you say, yeah, it's okay. I don't need every Thursday off. You can compromise on that, right? Compare the values against what the job has to offer against the values of the organization. So do your values align with that of the job? And does it align with that of the organization? The greater the alignment, the better the fit. The better the fit, the happier you are. The happier you are, the better an employee you'll become, and the greater the likelihood that you will stay in that job and sustain that job. So once again, here's an example from another student who compared the jobs against his values, wants, and needs, right? And in this case, he was looking at either working for an aquatic center or working for a hotel operation. And these are his values. He wants a job that is low stress, has consistent hours, has a positive impact on others, and is enjoyable. But it looks like both jobs kind of gave him different things, but about the equal amount of things. So it looks like it's quite even out, right? So now it goes back to determining which of these are more important to him. If he is ranking his values according to importance, then probably the lodging property would win over the aquatic center because consistent hours is more important to him. Organization fit, so he went and looked at the organization fit. And these were the values that were important to him. Transparency at work was important to him. The ability to advance his career, in other words, the organization has opportunities to move up that career ladder, was important to him. But so look here as to how much more the aquatic center aligned with his values compared to the lodging property. So looking at those two, more than likely, the aquatic center is going to be a better fit for him, even though they're kind of more or less the same as far as job fit goes. But when it comes to the organizational fit, the aquatic center certainly beats out the lodging property. Here's another one. This is back to Macy, the other student. So she too looked at the job fit analysis. And in her case, she was more concerned about the specification fit. Did she fit what the job was looking for? And in this case, once again, it's quite an even fit between the two jobs. But when it came to the organization fit, she was a much better fit with the organization in blue, which is, I think, Ultimate Solutions, versus the other organization that is in orange. And here's another way that she puts it, that she puts together. So the blue line is Ultimate Solution, the first company. The orange is the second company, Kirtland and Ellis. And then the purple is her, and the blue and the purple has got a greater match, all right? So that is how they determine good fit based on values, wants, and needs. So the key takeaway there is know your values, know what is important to you, know what are the deal breakers, and know what are the good to have, things you can compromise on. All right, because not every job is going, that you find, an organization that you find is going to fit you to a T, right? So do your research, know what are the job expectations, and know about the organization. Your personal values must align with the job and the organization values for you to be happy and stay. So that is the good fit, the nutshell of the good fit. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in the chat box. I'm trying to make sure we have enough time. So next is the competency gaps analysis. That's the third tool. So once again, competencies includes knowledge, skills, and abilities. So what is a competency gap analysis? What it does is it helps you determine the areas that need improvement. It explores and helps you understand what are the areas of improvement that you need to work on to minimize the gap between your competencies and the job requirement. The purpose of conducting a competency gap analysis is to increase your human capital value and competitiveness as a job candidate. Think of yourself like as a savings account, right? The more you invest in yourself, the more you invest in your knowledge, skills, and abilities, the greater your savings account will be, and the more attractive you will be to the employer that's looking at you. Back to that talent risk assessment. The greater the fit, the lower the risk for the employer to bring you on. So the goal of the competency gaps is to figure out what are the areas that you are short in or weak in that this job requires, and what can you do about it between now and then to make you marketable. So how would you look for the gaps? So the first thing you want to do is to analyze what you found out in the talent risk assessment, which are the high impact responsibilities that you are high risk. So let me go back to, let me see if I can find her real quick. remember, no, this was not it. So remember here, the second task, it's a very high impact. In other words, this task is very consequential to the success of this job. And she was at a very high risk. She was only 50% confident that she could do that. Okay, so then now the question is, what can she do about it? Can she do anything about it? And that's what you want to ask. Can she lower this risk from 50% to 25 or to 15 or to 10? And if so, what is it that she has to do to lower this number? Okay, the probability of failing. So then, determine if the risk can be reduced through professional development, right? Or additional education, okay? You have to prioritize that list into easy fix versus long-term fix. Some things, some of our competency gaps can be easily fixed, but some requires time. So prioritize, I trust you all have heard of the term low-hanging fruits. In other words, do the easy things first, right? And then the second thing to do is to look for gaps in the job fit analysis. Determine if the poor fit can be fixed. Is there room for compromise? Prioritize your list of deal breakers and good to haves, okay? Then the third thing to do is to take your priority list and map them out into weaknesses and threat findings using the SWOT analysis, okay? So here is back to Macy's example. What she did was she mapped out her strengths for the blue employer, Ultimate, and then she mapped out her strength for the orange employer, Kirtland and Ellis, and she did the same with weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And the area that she will be focusing on when it comes time to developing the professional career strategic plan will be looking at the areas of weaknesses and threats. So the key takeaway with competency gaps analysis is to be competitive in the job market, you must narrow down that competency gap. In other words, you need to make sure that your fit percentage against that job is as high as it possibly can to avoid being a high risk hire for the employer. And make sure that you fix the right things. A lot of times we develop strategic plans, whether it be a business or whether it be a personal plan, but we are focusing on the wrong things, right? So here you want to make sure that you're fixing what needs to be fixed, okay? And in this case, you do so by aligning your SWOT analysis with the talent risk assessment and the good fit analysis results. And because time is of the essence, as Stephen Covey say, first things first. Prioritize your to fix list, urgent, must fix versus not important, easy fixes versus long-term fixes. So that's a very logical way of going about addressing the competency gaps, okay? So that concludes competency gaps. And if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in. So now that you know about you, the type of job and organization for which you are a good fit. How do you prepare yourself to be marketable for placement and longevity? You must plan to succeed and improve your human capital, which takes us to that final process of strategic career planning, okay? So what is a strategic career or professional development plan? Well, first of all, the essential components include an intended goal and a deadline to accomplish the goal, a list of objectives needed to meet the goal, a list of tasks needed to meet the objectives. In other words, the objectives is a little bit broad, so the tasks are the details, all right? The expected outcome or measures for each task. How do you know that you accomplished the task, right? So you must have measures. And a list of resources needed to carry out each task. Do you have the resources, the money, the time, the support that you need to make sure that you can get this done? And give yourself a deadline for completion. Otherwise, we will all procrastinate. So all of the above components also help ensure that your plan is SMART. And SMART is an acronym. And I'm sure y'all have come across this when you take business courses. A SMART plan is one that is specific on what exactly it is that you want to accomplish. So being able to write a plan that's very specific and detailed is critical, because it truly gives you focus, okay? What are the specific tasks you need to have to accomplish to get there? It needs to be measurable, determine how you can find out if you have achieved your goal or not. So what are the different ways of measuring? Do you ask a friend? Do you take a test or a certification and have the certificate in hand to show that you went through it and passed it? Attainable, can you actually make this happen? Can you afford it? Can you afford the time, the money, and so on? Relevant, is what you're doing relevant to the goal? A lot of times we get lost in that forest, all right? Always make sure you come back to your plan and look at it and say, am I doing what I am supposed to do, or have I gone off course? Time-based, can you make it happen within the time frame it needs to be accomplished? A lot of us procrastinate. So here is an example of how easy it is to put a professional development plan together. So you state your goal, right? In this case, it will be Evelyn Green will be 100% proficient in spoken Chinese. All right, and that's my goal, 100% proficient in spoken Chinese by December 2021, which is my deadline that I'm setting for myself. And how am I going to accomplish it? My objectives. I will start by taking Chinese lessons using Rosetta Stone, which is an app or program. I will practice speaking Chinese on a daily basis. And third, I will engage in Chinese community events, because when I do that, I'll get to practice speaking Chinese with the Chinese people, right? So, and how you plan, and then what you will do then is keep that goal front and center in front of you, so you can always remember what it is you're working towards. Keep your eye on your destination, essentially. And then take each of these objectives and put it in the plan or in the table. And for each of the objectives, list the detailed tasks that it takes to meet this objective. So when I say take Rosetta Stone lessons, well, first of all, I have to check with HR if they will allow me to purchase it instead of spending my own money. Then I'll have to actually go purchase the lessons, establish a lesson schedule, start studying, right? So how do I measure whether I did this or not? Well, the first thing is I bought the program. Then I have a study schedule to show that I am going to be studying it. And then the last thing is that I completed the lessons, okay? These are the ways that I measure whether I did the task, okay? And these are the resources that I would need to make this happen. It cost me about $500 or HR $500, right? I'll need a laptop, I need a headphone, and I need time, okay? And for each of these tasks, I set deadlines for them to ensure that I will meet that final deadline of December 2021. So this is how you would break it down. So why is it important to have a strategic career or professional development plan? It is important because it is like a roadmap to guide you towards your career destination, minimizing the chances of meandering and wasting precious resources, i.e. your time and money, along the way. So a lot of times that's what we're doing. We're going to school, taking classes, but we don't know why we're going through the motions, okay? It gives you a sense of purpose. It helps you pack the right tools and the essential knowledge, skills, and abilities needed to be successful in your chosen career. How do you do it? Well, as I've mentioned before, you translate the weaknesses and threats that you discovered in your SWOT analysis, and then you put that into the plan and develop it into a SMART plan. This is a repeat of that. And this was Macy's SMART plans, but her plan was not as solid as it needed to be. And if we had more time, I would have asked you, how can she improve on it? But at the end of the day, I want you to invest time in yourself to make a plan to save you time down the road. Spend the time now so that things will be easier for you. Your journey towards your destination will be smoother and more efficient down the road. Don't make a plan unless you plan on taking action. Otherwise, it will just be sitting on your desk collecting dust. It is difficult to act on the plan and know whether you are doing the right things to get to your set goal if it is not aligned with your SWOT or it is not SMART. So if you go through the process that I have just shared with you, and I did mention to Juan that I'll be happy to send a PDF of this lecture so that they can distribute it to you and you can kind of follow the process step by step. And if anything else, here are my contact information, and I'll be happy to connect with you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And that concludes my presentation today. I'll get back on video. And so I'm ready for questions if there are any.
Great, thank you very much, Evelyn. Okay, do you have any question? Please, you can raise your hand and we can turn your microphone on. Christian.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Juan.
Hello.
Hi, Evelyn. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Let me stop my share screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry for asking this. I was just wondering, like, I got really interested on the auto evaluation setup, saying it like that. When you ask the person if it fits the job through these questions, like, do you know yourself? Are you capable of this job? And if the saying like that, the character of the person fits the job, it got me wondering, like, whether that person is capable because of its cockiness, saying like that, of its confidence on being capable of managing the job, or actually just if that person is overconfident and that person can screw up that job. I have that issue because there are companies where the employee enters and it's overconfident, and then he screws it up, and that costs a lot of money to the company, you know. And
It,
yeah.
that is an excellent point. Okay, are you Christian? No.
Yes,
Okay,
person.
that's an excellent point. In fact, remember the job that I told you that I when I did that talent risk assessment formula, that job that I was looking at, I actually showed the results of my talent risk assessment to the lady who was very interested in hiring me. And she said, I have never had anybody show me a talent risk assessment before. So she says, whether you take this job or whether you get this job or not, I will always remember you for that. But she also brought up, and she's an expert in human capital development, and she brought up an excellent point. She says, women generally think less of themselves or rate themselves lower, whereas men generally think more of themselves, feel like they're more capable than they actually are. And apparently, it is research-based, her information to me. So I found that quite interesting. But to answer your question, this is not something you would, if you are an employer, you can do this, right? And like you said, most of the time they will probably, think more of themselves than you. But this is just one way of you to figure things out. You can always test. Like, for example, students would say, I know how to use Excel, right? Give them an Excel test and see if they actually know how to use Excel, right? Then their no versus your no is different. But if this is an assessment you're doing on yourself, right? There is no need for you to lie to yourself. You are better off to be on the cautious side than to be on the, yeah, I can do it, beat me on the chest, right? Because at the end of the day, you are the one who's going to get yourself into that situation of unhappiness if you did not do a true self-assessment. But with employers, I'm sure if they implement this, this would not be the only means of them measuring. And even with you, these are just some things that I say, think about these if you have not thought about it. But there are a lot more other factors when it comes to considering career choices and so forth. In fact, with this particular job example that I had, my talent risk assessment was a 70% fit, which was really not bad at all, considering I've never done that before. But I ended up not taking the job because of organization fit. So it was based on that good fit part of it. I didn't care for the immediate supervisor that I will have to report to. I could immediately tell that the chemistry was not there, and I was not probably the person that he was hoping that she would hire. So I could sense a lot of that. So I ended up not taking the job.
Brilliant.
So there are a lot of other factors that you have to consider. And these are just some tools that you use out of your entire tool belt.
Cool. Thank you. And Evelyn, actually, something like really personal happened to me in a job. I was working for a clothing enterprise, something like that.
Mm,
And a funny thing happened that I got my 3-month trial of working with that company. I
mhm.
was doing good. I was going every day. I had a great job, saying like that. I was happy. And then time passed, and the 3-month trial passed, and I got the talent assessment test, and it was really personal. Like it was like an auto evaluational test. And the funny thing is that I was just trying to be humble with the answers. Like, yeah, I think this time I arrived late, and so on. So just by trying to be humble, my boss that actually liked me, he didn't give me the job. And it was like, wow. And actually, I got the best sales with everybody. I was like the best salesman, saying like that. And yeah, like I just said like goodbye, take care, and I felt like really bad. But I also started studying university, and then everything changed. But yeah, it was kind of weird.
Sometimes things happen for a reason. They may not be things that we want to happen, but it did. So I have so many experiences to the point where nowadays, if I go for all I can do is do my best. But if that opportunity is not awarded to me, I just see that opportunity as one more lesson for me to learn, one more thing that I have to learn to take me to what I am supposed to do. So I no longer feel the kind of regret or beat myself up, when I can't get a job, because many times you feel insulted, right? You would feel disappointed and say, why not me? That person is no better than me, if not probably worse than me. You would think all that kind of thoughts, but always know that the universe knows what you're supposed to do, right? And a lot of times what you're supposed to do, what it has planned for you, is not what you think you want to do. So even with things like final destinations and career path, life changes, and that's why you must constantly go back and evaluate. Who you are today is not going to be who you are 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So it is because you learn life lessons. So you must always gain that self-awareness, always take time out to think and reflect on your life and about you, and make those necessary adjustments.
Thank you, Evelyn.
You're
Great.
welcome. My pleasure.
Great. We have another question from Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Hi.
Hola.
I don't know if you can.
I can.
Okay, thank you. My question is, how many people do you recommend to determine the task and the competencies of a job? If you recommend to do this activity to the general manager, to the supervisor, or maybe a group of people?
The talent risk assessment, again, I recommend you do it as part of your, should I look at this job or not? Should I consider this job or not? So it's more of a self-evaluation, right? So if Diana, if you are looking at 2 jobs and said, I don't know which job to take, then this is the time when you want to take both job descriptions, right, and look at both organizations and say, between these two jobs, which job can I do better, right, in terms of the talent assessment, the good fit, and then look at the organizations and say, well, which organization do I like better, and then kind of make your decision from there. Now, as far as talent risk assessment from the employer side, it is really up to the employer if they even want to do it. Not every employer spend the time to do it, and I wish they would, because then they won't have the kind of turnover they do. Unfortunately, in our industry, we often hire out of desperation, right? We don't take time to have a talent pipeline. Someone quits today, we need to bring in another person, so we hire them right away. We don't care if they fit or not. We just need a body there, right, to kind of hold the fort. So unfortunately, that causes our industry to have very high turnover. I think it will behoove our industry to actually take time out to perform assessments like that, because I think it will help them with their retention level. They'll be able to, their hiring will be better, right? And if they're hiring better fit, then more than likely their turnover will be lower and their retention will be better.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did.
Maria. Is Maria next one?
Yeah, she is.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hi, Maria.
How are you?
Ooh, I like that background. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, I love being there too. So first, I wanted to thank you because of your, well, your it wasn't a speech, it was your presentation. It was really like inspiring, because
Thank you.
most of the time, and this goes like to my question, most of the times people, especially, well, I don't know right now, like in the world, like job applications and job opportunities are a little bit scarce. Like there's not so many. So sometimes, like it happens a lot here, that people take a job not because it goes with them, but because it is what they have, like it's the only option they have. So my question was, first, you said, like at first you speak about the final destination and how we have to picture that in mind. What would you recommend us to do if we don't really actually see that picture so clear? And what would you say to us if we don't have enough options for what we probably picture ourselves in 5 years or however many years, if we don't actually find the option, like jobs for that?
And that's the beauty of our hospitality, tourism, and culinary programs. I trust you also have internships, right? I'm not quite sure how the culture is over in Ecuador. Over here, we encourage our students to go out and work part-time as they're going through school, because as they work jobs or as they volunteer in organizations, as they job shadow, they will start picking up on what they want to do, don't want to do, as they do internships and so forth. So I think, first of all, it's important for you to get yourself into the industry and check everything out, right? Or what you feel like. You can always narrow it down. Like you can go to your university's career center. They have all kinds of evaluations and tests that you can take to show you what you lean more towards, right? Let's say if you're looking at, you may want to say, okay, for now I want to look at these 5 different careers, right? talk to people in those careers. If you don't have the time to work it, right? Talk to industry professionals. One, it gives you networking opportunities, and industry professionals love helping students. Hear what they have to tell you about those jobs. Do job shadowing, take time, an hour or two, right, to job shadow people that are doing the jobs that you think you might be interested in, to see if this is something you want to do. Take part-time jobs in it, but get yourself into that game or into the industry, into the field itself, to really explore. Nobody, even though I tell you there's a final that is best that you have a final destination in mind, but that destination could always change, all right? But know that that's just a goal for you to look at, but you have to have the adaptability and the flexibility and knowing yourself well enough to say, it's time to pivot, because this, what I thought is not. For example, take my experience. I left Malaysia in 1983 to pursue a degree in hotel and restaurant management, because I thought I wanted to be in operations, okay? When I graduated, there were no, it was a very bad job market. There was a slump in the job market. I was told, don't bother come home because there are no jobs back home. Stay in the US if you can. But being an international student, it was very difficult. But because of business partners that the university have, one finally offered me an internship and helped me with the work permit. So I was in hotel operations. I actually worked in Miami. I was a resident manager. I lived on property. So I was 24/7 in operations. That was the most hellacious 1.5 years of my life. Think about the 80s in Miami. It was an airport property. It was drug deals all around me. It was a very, very tough job. I felt like if I could go through that 1.5 years, I could do anything else. Nothing phases me anymore. But it was then that I realized that even though that was the goal and that was what inspired me to become the good student, right, to actually earn the degree, I realized then that operations was not quite what I was looking for. I realized once I was really doing it that it was more stressful compared to my makeup, right, of who I am, that it was more than what I wanted. So I decided I'll go back to the university to pursue my MBA. And next thing I know was I spent 25 years at the university. But every skill set that I acquired, and this is the one thing I want you to know, what is considered soft skills by most industries are essential skills for our industry, right? And those are the skill sets that you can apply in any job setting. Even though I left the hotel industry per se, but every skill set that I acquired between my education in the hospitality program and my work experience in hotel operations and sales, I use every one of those skill sets in all these other jobs that I had when I was in the university, because it's a matter of application. So know that, find you something that will give you that motivation, but know that it may not, your journey may change, right? And it's okay. It's okay to do that. I never in my wildest dream would think that I will become a professor, right? But life changed. But the key is, as you make those changes, be very conscious of the decisions you make and make sure that they add value to your life, add value to your resume, and add value to that next thing that you want to do. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much, Evelyn.
You're welcome.
Do we have another question? You can raise your hand. I think.
There are 3 chats.
Yeah, we have another one. Patricio.
Patricio, hello.
Yeah. I really enjoyed your speech today. It was really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, and talking about this, about the soft skills that we should improve in order to get a better job, or actually just to get any job. But I wanted to ask you, how can you recommend us that we can improve these soft skills? Like, how can you recommend that we can actually improve these skills in our age? Like, what can we do? Is there like any recommendation you can give us about that?
Practice makes habit, right? I know you've heard of practice makes perfect, but practice makes habit. A lot of times today, right, realize, I think I spoke earlier in the session, I'm old, I'm 62. But manners, respect, those are hospitality. Those are essential skills that no matter what industry you're in, you should have. We have I think as a society, and I'm standing on my soapbox right now, as a society, we've lost a lot of that. We've become very, very casual, right? One of the pet peeves I have with my students is when they write to me and say, "Hey, professor," I was like, you don't hey a professor, right? It is, "Hello, Dr. Green," right? Or they would write and they say, "This is Patricio," and they spelled their name with a lowercase p, right? And I'm saying, you know what? Be proud of the name that was given to you. Be proud of who you are. Use a capital P, use an uppercase P, right? And when you say I, use a uppercase I, right? Just little things like that to set you apart, because manners nowadays, in a way, is a dying art, right? These are some soft skills that doesn't take much, but it takes attention. Because we with all the texting on and all that, we've become so casual that we forget that there are manners built into our written conversation. In the virtual world, in the world of texting, and in the world of communicating via emails and all that, all those kind of writing represents you. I don't see you. So like right now, I can't see your face, so I don't know how you look like. I don't know you, right? But if you were to send me an email, how you write to me would tell me a lot about you, right? Would tell me the level of respect, the level of attention. It's kind of like when you go on a date, right? When you want to go on a date, you are going to dress up, you're going to look your best, right? To make a good first impression, correct? But think of your email as your first date with me, let's say. If your email is full of typos and full of things, all it tells me is you really don't care. So these are what we call essential skills that has kind of fallen by the wayside. It's not very difficult things to do. It's just things that we have forgotten. that as the generation goes on, that these are things that we've kind of gone by the wayside because we've become so casual. Just know that everything you do, everything you say, everything you write represents you. It's your personal brand, it's your image. So pay attention to things like that. I used to work in a campus recreation, and the student workers that work there used to say, oh, at that time I was still Miss Green, they say, oh, Miss Green, you always dress so nice. And I was like, because it is part of my job to look professional. I would hate for my boss to come into my office one day and try to introduce someone to me and say, you know, this is my marketing director, Evelyn Green, and then I look like a total disaster. How does that make him feel? And what does that do to the image of our campus recreation, of our university? So know that how you present yourself, right? Be it in dress code, be it in writing, however, always remember it represents you, and that there's many different ways of communicating respect. When you're in the hospitality field, how you treat a guest, how you talk to a guest. There's all kind of ways you can exude that kind of what we call essential skills, but it really comes down to respect and manners that we have lost a lot. And those are things that you can easily get back and learn again. I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, yes, you did. Thank you so much, Evelyn.
Thank you.
I'm completely agree with that. I think this is really important, especially in our industry. When we are talking about hospitality, we are talking about service. So it's important how you behave, how you address a person. So I completely agree with that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you accepted our invitation to this session. It was really interesting. We all learned a lot. I think this is important to start knowing what we want and how we can get over there. It's not like it will get because it will. You have to work for that. So really, Evelyn, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. We really appreciate it.
It's my great pleasure. It's my honor. Like I said, I'll send you a PDF of my presentation, and it has my contact information. So any of your students, if y'all would like to reach out to me, I'll be happy to stay in contact with you. And Dr. Thompson's presentation, which is in late October. No, his is the last one, October 22nd, 23rd?
21. 21st, yeah.
His presentation is almost like a continuation of mine. His presentation talks about interviewing skills, preparing yourself. Now that you've kind of prepared yourself to be marketable, so now his will talk about how to get ready, you know, for the job interview, what to do, and how to prepare yourself, and what areas to look at. So that would be another good one too.
Perfect, excellent. And remember, next week we invited the general manager of the Wyndham Hotel in Guayaquil. So be ready for that. Again, thank you very much, Evelyn. And I hope I can see you very soon. And yeah. I hope I can go to visit you and you can come to Ecuador and visit us.
I will be there as soon as they open the borders. But thank you very much, everyone. Have a very good evening. I have enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you, Camilla, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Evelyn.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. I'm going to take a look at the chats while I'm at it before I leave. Thank you. Camilla, would you mind sending me the recording too? When you
yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we will send you also the picture.
Ah, yes, please send me the picture so that Dr. Thompson will help me post it to our department Facebook.
Perfect.
And that way
Okay.
you can shoot it out to the students.
Yeah, we will send you as soon as we have it.
Yeah, have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Great.
You too. Take care.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.